We're recording. Okay.
All right. Okay. So we're ready to go. Yes. Yay. Okay. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is our not first official Zoom call, but our first official call as the FBF Platinum Group. So thank you guys all for voting on a name, and that's officially our 35 and over name. Tonight we are going to do a couple of things. This call is going to be focused on macros. It's going to be Anne is going to share a lot of great general information about macros, and then I am going to give just some MyFitnessPal hacks and some basics in case you don't know them. But the way we want to open all of our calls from now on is we're going to do our roll call. So Coach Corinne will do roll call. But when we call your name, you're going to give your one check-in word. You cannot say more than one word of how you're feeling in the present moment. It doesn't mean that it needs to be rainbows and sparkles and glitter, right? Like if you're frustrated, if you're feeling motivated, however you're feeling, one word. We're going to check out the same way, one word. Okay? So, Coach Corinne, you can take it over and start roll call.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start with Alexis.
Hey, disappointed.
Okay. Disappointed. Allie, you're next. You got to make sure you unmute. Allie McCorkle.
There we go.
There you go.
I would say comfortable.
I like it. Okay, Amy, you're next.
Proud.
Like it. Brandy Lewis.
Hi, sorry my background's loud, but I feel good right now.
Good. All right. I like it. Candace.
Happy.
Perfect. Christine.
Motivated.
Good. Dave.
Oh, sorry. This is Kimberly McCartney. I logged in under my husband's thing. I couldn't get it to work.
Thank you for telling me.
I'm ready.
Ready. Good. Okay, Deborah.
Motivated. Very motivated.
Good. Okay, I don't know your name. It just says Foxy, which is awesome. That's your name.
Curious.
What was the word? Sorry.
Curious.
Awesome. Irina.
Heavy.
Heavy. Stop it. Okay, Jamie.
Oh, you're on mute, Jamie.
Oh, sorry. Loved.
Love. Like that word.
I have this one.
Jessica Warner.
Gains.
Gains. Yes. I like it. Joanna.
Excited.
Sorry, what was that?
Excited.
Excited. Good. Katie.
Excuse me, other than a horse, I'm feeling super ambitious.
I like it. I'm sorry that you're hoarse. Lynn. Where's Lynn? Lynn, are you there? You're muted.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't click the right button. I feel
That's okay.
happy.
Happy. Good. Melissa B.
Did you say V or B?
B like boy or begin.
I would say re-energized.
Re-energized. Like that. Melissa V.
Hi. Inconsistent.
Inconsistent. Okay. Got it. Michelle Larson.
Content.
Good. Miriam.
Grateful.
Good. Sorry, I'm trying to write all your words down at the same time. Okay. Grateful, and then I don't know how to say your name. I think I've done this before.
Nkechi.
Nkechi. I love it. Okay, what's your word?
Hey, yeah, I think Joanna took mine. So excited
okay,
was what I was gonna say. So
I like
it's
it.
like I'll just like ×2 on the excited thing.
Perfect. You guys can have the same words.
All right.
Tamika.
Renewed.
Sorry, what was that?
Renewed.
Renewed. Good. Terry Dane.
Hopeful.
Good. I like that word. And then you've got Yolanda.
Excited.
Excited. Good. Those are good words. I think I got everyone unless anyone snuck in. Oh, Meg. I missed Meg.
Oh, there I am. Sorry. Relax.
That's okay.
Hello.
Relaxed. Hi. Good. Did I miss anyone else?
Coach Corinne, your word?
Oh gosh, my word. It's gonna be a I have so many. I'll do hopeful.
Awesome. Coach Ann?
I'm going to say energized.
Nice. And my word is clarity.
Ah, good. Okay, that's everyone.
All right, welcome. Coach Ann, you going to take it?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Before I get started, I have a client texting me saying that the link worked, but they're waiting to be let in, and I'm not getting any prompts that there's anyone waiting. Does anyone know if because I'm recording this, it won't allow me to let in any additional people?
I have no idea. I don't have any prompts either.
Oh, no, she just texted and said I'm in. I don't know where she popped up. Very strange. Okay.
What's her name?
All right, everybody, well, let's get rolling. We are going to tackle all things macros. Everybody's favorite love it or hate it topic, right? So, oh, now I got more people coming in. Here we go. Let her back in. Okay, so I'm going to tackle this by explaining what it means by playing macro Tetris. I always tell my clients, don't try and play macro Tetris. And what that means is it's almost impossible. You cannot eat the food first and then try and log it after the fact and think that your numbers are just going to magically work out. All of you have been tracking for a long time know what a frustrating process that is. You'll eat and think, oh, that was a pretty decent meal. And then you log it and you go, oh gosh, I just used up half my carbs, or, oh, now I'm out of fat. What am I going to do for the rest of the day? And it just creates all this anxiety and chaos to the point where you just go, forget it. I'm just going to write off the rest of the day and try again tomorrow. So that's what I mean by not playing macro Tetris. You need to do a little pre-planning. My second biggest tip, I think, for macros is breaking it down into smaller pieces and breaking it down into meals. So if you look at just your total macros for the day, it may seem a little overwhelming and like, where do I start and how do I break this down to know that my meals are going to be a little more balanced? I think the best way to do it is first figure out how many times a day you're eating. So if you're on a plan where you're eating 4 times a day, take your total macros and divide them, each of the categories, divide them by 4. I'm just going to use really basic numbers so that's easy to understand. If you're on 100 carbs and 40 fat and 100 protein, and you divide all that by 4, each meal needs to be 25 carbs, 25 protein, 10 fat. So if you memorize those numbers, memorize your meal numbers as opposed to your total macro numbers. I think when you go to build meals or try and figure out, putting things together, it makes it a little bit easier. And just giving that example of 25 protein, 10 fat, 25 carbs, it doesn't necessarily mean your meals have to be perfect. I like to think of it as, honestly, for me, it's like elementary math. So what I'll do is, let's say I break it down, and 10 grams of fat is my, if I want 4 even meals, it'd be 10 grams of fat per meal. So let's say my breakfast is only 5 grams of fat. That means I get to carry those 5 grams of fat over to my next meal. So at my next meal, if I want to eat 15 grams of fat, I can. Ideally, yes, you want your meals pretty balanced, but just kind of keep a log in your head. It's like, carrying over, adding and subtracting that you did in 4th or 5th grade. It's very basic. And then do the same with each of your other categories. A lot of the times my breakfast will be really low in fats, maybe only 5 grams of fat. It gives me, I'll carry those fats over and use them maybe towards meal 3, which seems to be my meal that is a little higher in fat. You can do the same thing with your proteins and with your carbs. Proteins, my tip for the day would be keep your proteins really, really even. Because that is a hard one to catch up. If you get behind on protein, it becomes very overwhelming. Let's say you're supposed to have 25 for breakfast and you have 10, and now all of a sudden you have to carry those extra 15 grams of protein into your next meal. And now you're like, meal 2 needs to be 40 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein and it's overwhelming. And you end up having this massive meal. So I think that's probably my biggest tip. When you're first learning, build yourself a meal plan. Sit down at your computer, build out a couple days worth of eating before you've eaten it, where you can play with portions and get the numbers to jive. And then kind of think of it as your meal plan and eat the same thing for, eat and repeat, eat and repeat, eat and repeat. Even if you build out 2 or 3 different days, so you have a little variety, recycle those days. Natasha's going to do the next piece, and she'll physically show you guys how to do those kind of things in MyFitnessPal if you don't already know. But I think the easiest in the beginning is to honestly just start eating really repetitively so that you know that you're hitting your macros. And then kind of one of the other things that always kind of throws people off is, oh, I have a wedding coming up or a special event, or I'm going to a birthday. There are exceptions. Yes, you want your meals really balanced, but if you know you have an event coming up, I call it macro hoarding. You can kind of hoard some of your macros to use towards that event. And here's always my rule of thumb when I do that. 9 times out of 10, when you go out, eating out, it's going to be high in carbs, high in fat, especially if you're trying to throw in any kind of alcohol, that's even more carbs and fat. So try and front load your protein. If you go into a meal eating out and you're not trying to like eat out and make sure you're hitting 30 grams of protein, it'll be less stressful. So front load your protein, and then save your fats and your carbs for the event going out. And even though it is an event, and even though you are going out, please also try and plan ahead for that. So in your head, kind of, make deals with yourself. Yes, I'm going to have 1 glass of wine, and I know how to calculate alcohol macros. So I know I'm going to at least need 30 grams of carbs for that. And I'm planning on having a slice of wedding cake, or whatever the case may be. Just trying to be realistic with yourself on what those items that you're going to splurge on are going to be and what you're going to need for them. So it's going to make your day really lean, lots of protein, lots of veggies, low in fat, low in carbs, and kind of save those for your special event meal is helpful as well. And pre-log as much of that meal as you possibly can. So those are probably my top tips for how to not play macro Tetris, how to break it down, memorize your by meal numbers and do it that way. Start there. So with that, I am going to pass it off to Natasha. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, my AirPods have died. So I'm getting out the old school ones. Okay, so we are going to go through MyFitnessPal. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Okay, can you still hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Feel free to look at your screen as we go through this. I will talk slowly and go through things slowly. So you are actually going to see my food log. Do not judge me because I'm still hitting my macros, but it's been a fun weekend for me. So you'll get to see my food log for today, and we're just going to go through a few things. So I'm going to share my screen. Everything on your screen. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so we're going to open up MyFitnessPal. The first thing that we want to just make sure is that everybody knows that they're looking at their macros. You'll notice at the top, it says nutrients remaining. And some people, it'll say calories. So if yours says calories, you want to change it to macros. That way you know what your total macro count is. So the way to do that is to press the 3 dots at the top on the right-hand side. So let me close that again. So it's right under that little crown. You just press those little dots, and this custom dashboard is going to come up. So you want to make sure that macronutrients focused is selected. The default is calorie focused. So you can see my check mark there. So you make sure that's on, and then close the X, and that's how you make sure your top of your screen says macronutrients. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we're going to go into settings. So at the bottom of the screen, it says more on the right, on the bottom right-hand corner. And you'll press on that and all of your settings will come up. And then you're going to scroll down to settings. You're going to press on settings. Now this is just basic stuff. We want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So then you're going to press on diary settings. And here you're going to see all of these amazing things that you can look at. You want to make sure that show carbs, protein, and fats by meal. I always make sure that's on. Where it says track net carbs, please make sure that option is off. I know as coaches, we get that a lot. Like a lot of times, when you guys are doing check-ins, you're like, but I'm meeting my net carbs. You do not want that on because you will be totally off. Show all meals in diary tabs. You want to make sure that option is on. Use multi-add by default. You want to make sure that is on. Show diary food insights. Make sure that is on because that will allow you to see, sometimes if your coach is like, keep your sodium at a certain level, that's what you want to do. Always show water in diary. You can have that on or not. I personally don't log my water, but if you are logging your water, that's a really good option to have. Okay. So those are just basics that you want to make sure you have as your settings. So you're looking at you're looking at the numbers to help you be successful. So we're going to come out of that. That's in settings. And then we're going to go to your diary. So here's my day today. And what we really wanted to share with you guys are just like a couple of hacks that we all use. So you can see here's my meal 1. I eat the same thing almost every single day. I've been eating the same breakfast for probably 3 or 4 years. So what I do is I don't relog everything every day. All I do is copy the meal. There's 2 ways you can do it. So if you scroll down here, where it says add food, there's these 3 little dots right here to the right, and you're just going to press on that, and these options come up. So the easiest one to do is you go copy to date, because I want to copy this meal to another date. I do this every single day. So I go to copy date, and then you get this cool little menu here. So I'm going to copy it for tomorrow for meal 1. And then I'm just going to press that little the check mark. If I want to plan for the rest of the week, I'll go ahead and sit here and you just scroll through the dates and you can add in your meals like that. So like if I want to add it in for Tuesday, I go ahead and press the check mark and it says it's been added to February 22nd. Now be mindful, like let's say you wanted to edit something for tomorrow out of this meal, you have to scroll to that day. So it'll pop up, or maybe I did it on Tuesday. So see, it's right there in Tuesday, and edit it. Because after you copy it to that day, it defaults you to the current day you're in, if that makes sense. Because there's been many times that I edit it thinking I'm editing it for Tuesday. So make sure you scroll to the day that you did that. So that's one way. Another way you can copy a meal is if you're in your day. Oh, I don't have it on this one. Okay. Never mind. I can't show you guys how to do that. You can just choose these different options. You can go to turn off smart copy. So smart copy, what it does is it'll allow you to go to the next day and you can smart copy your food, but for some odd reason, it is not coming up on my screen. So I cannot show you guys how to do that. Okay, so that is how you copy a meal. To add foods, we want to show you guys a couple quick things. To add a food, we go down here to add food. You can always scan a barcode. So if you want to scan a barcode, you just press this little box right here, and then you're going to find the food. I should have had a barcode. You're going to find the food and just scan the barcode, and it'll automatically pop it up. And that's a really cool function. The scan meal, I've tried to use that a couple times. I wouldn't really use it because it's not extremely reliable. So that's not a good one. And then you can go out of here. Another really cool thing you guys can do is you can create a meal. So again, we're going to click on those 3 dots to the right. And we have all these options again. You can go save as meal. So I can save what I just had as a meal. I can name it. I could call it oatmeal with fruit. And that means this meal is going to be accessible to me and I can just choose it from my menu. So then I would press save. You can even add a picture if you want. And it would be there. So if I go to tomorrow and I want to add a food, I would just come up here and I would go to my meals. And I could scroll down and I'll see all the meals that I created. So you can see I just created oatmeal with fruit. And you can see I have lots of meals here. Like when I'm on prep, I create meals. And that way I can just throw them in. So I would click on that or press on that and then just add it. Okay. Let's see. The other one, so we did create a meal, copied, quick add. Another function you have as a food, let's say you go out somewhere to a restaurant or you're even at home and you don't have a label or you don't know specifics of a food, you can go to add food, or no, you go on the press on the 3 dots. You're going to go to quick add. And right here, you can go and enter in the calories, the total fat, carbs, and protein. So a lot of times I'll use this, like if I'm out and about and I can just read a label real quick and I'm not going to scan it, I can just automatically put it in here. So that's how you do that. That's a quick add. So when you actually add it to your diary, so let's see if I put this in here. When I add it into my diary, it goes in as a quick add, as you can see it there. So it doesn't necessarily save it, it's just a quick add. The other thing that we wanted to share with you guys is alcohol. Not that we're promoting you drink alcohol, but if you are going to choose to have like a glass of wine, a beer, a cocktail, you always want to make sure that you are accounting for the macros. right? A lot of times things will come up and it's like, oh, it's 0 calories or it's 1 carb. When you drink alcohol, you still have to account for the sugar and how the body metabolizes it. So we used to give you guys a really great formula, but you don't even have to do that. So if you go into add food, and like, let's say I had a glass of wine, it's not a big deal if it's a certain label or a certain brand. It's basically all the same thing, right? So if I'm going to have a glass of red wine, I would say red wine. And I already know you can either take your wine or you can take your alcohol out of your fat macros or your carbohydrates. So as you can see here, I was taking out of my fats the last time I had it, but I could just do red wine carbs and search it, and you will see a whole bunch of options that people have already put in. So I would choose one of these and I would look at it, and this person put it in. So you can see they took it out of carbs and fats for a 4-ounce glass. So for me, that would be kind of confusing. So I'd go back. I would press on this one, and it says for 6 ounces, it's 30 grams of carbs. That's pretty accurate. So you always want to make sure, if you can, measure out your, whatever you're drinking. Once you've had I don't mean like a few drinks that night, but like once you've had a glass of wine a couple of times, you'll get familiar with, what is 4 ounces and what is 6 ounces. Because if you're at a restaurant, more than likely, they're not going to have a scale for you to measure. So you use your best guesstimate and you can adjust it to ounces here. And like, let's say, okay, I had 4 ounces of wine. You see it puts in 20 grams of carbs. That is how I'm going to log my wine. And I press OK and add it. It is like that for all alcohol. Don't get caught up in like, oh, they didn't have that particular brand. It's okay. Red wine, white wine. If you're going to drink a mixed drink, you can look for it. Like you could put in margarita carbs, margarita fat, and see what comes up. If you can't find anything for your particular drink, then I always suggest just breaking it down. If you know it's a vodka drink, look for vodka carbs and put in a shot, which is usually 1 to 2 ounces. And that's how, Allie, that's how you look for it. So that is that. Deleting and changing the quantity of something. So I kind of briefly showed you guys that with the wine, but let's do it with the blueberries. So I'm going to take my blueberries because my fruit typically changes from day to day and I'm usually changing it. So as you can see here, when I'm logging, I always try to dial down to the 1 gram, like 1 gram or 1 ounce, because it allows the flexibility. I'm not trying to figure out what percentage I'm doing, like if it says the serving size, right? So I always choose 1 gram or 1 ounce. And then I can adjust this. So I'll put 50 grams if I had 50 grams of blueberries that day. If it changes, then I go ahead and change that number. As you can see here, like if I put 140 grams and I needed to, obviously I didn't have 70 servings of that because that would be enough carbs for 10 years. So that would be 1 serving. So most of you probably are used to logging this way, where you put the serving size that's on the package, which would be 140 grams. So if you're going to keep it this way, then you just need to do the math. If you weigh out 70 grams, then you would need to change this to 0.5 of a serving, half of a serving. And that would give you your breakdown. But like I said, that's why it's easier for me to always switch everything to grams, like 1 gram or 1 ounce. So for me, if an entry doesn't have that capability, I look for another entry that I can like dial it down to the 1 gram or 1 ounce.
And Natasha, can you tell them how to do that? How to search by it and then like type the word grams past?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So if we're in here and we want to add a food, let's use blueberries again. Blueberries. And you'll notice sometimes, you guys, like you could type in blueberries or blueberry and like you'll have totally different answers. So we want to do blueberries, grams. Is this what you mean, Coach Ann?
Yep, that's what I mean.
That's probably way more effective than the way I do it. Okay, so look, now we have all of these options with the blueberries in grams, right? So then I would just kind of go down and start choosing. So this one has 100 grams. And guys, when you're looking at foods, especially foods you're not familiar with, be really mindful of the macro makeup. right? Like sometimes you'll type in something and it may say 100 grams of blueberries and it'll be like 2 carbs. Okay, we all know that 100 grams of blueberries is way more than 2 carbs. So then you would not use that entry. So this one, for me, I would personally see if I could dial it down, and I totally can. So I would pick that 1 gram option. That way I can adjust my quantity or number of servings very easily. So that's how you do it. The other thing I wanted to mention, I know, I'm not sure if Coach Corinne and Ann have this, but rice is a big thing. When you are entering in your rice, you either have to put it in as pre-cooked, so if you're going to weigh out your rice before you cook, or cooked rice, because they're not the same. I always do mine cooked. So I eat the same rice. So I always put like nishiki medium grain rice cooked. See how it says cooked right there? And that way I know 130 grams is roughly 34 grams of carbs. If I was to put just regular nishiki rice and like it's not cooked, it's going to be totally different. So make sure you're doing that for like, usually it's going to be like your rices and your pastas, your grains, things like that. There is a difference between it being cooked and not cooked. All right.
Will you give the same tips on meat as well, Coach Tosh?
Sure. Okay, so let's do, I don't know, ground turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Ground turkey seems to be a popular option. Oh, hold on. Let me look for you guys. Okay, so I would search ground turkey. So we see all these options here. I am always usually going to choose the one that's checked green, because that means it's been verified. It means that it's legit. Lots of people have used it, and MyFitnessPal has actually verified that it's the right one. So I would choose this one, and I would say, okay, that's pretty accurate. 1 ounce is 2 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein. So I would go in here, and again, I would keep everything at 1 ounce so I can adjust it. This is a lot of times when people are like, I don't know how much turkey to use. This is why you have to pre-log. So you know, right? Like you just don't want to like go, oh, I need 8 ounces. You'll know based on your pre-logging how much turkey you need. So I'd go in here and, you know, I would say, okay, I need 6 ounces. And that brings up 33 grams of protein. This is how you start to get really familiar with how much turkey is how much fat and how much protein. And don't be afraid to play with it. You know, be like, well, how much is 2 ounces of turkey? And then again, you've got to weigh it. That way you start to get really familiar. And this is helpful when you go out, and you'll start to notice when you go out, like, gosh, they're only giving me like 2.5 ounces of protein at the restaurant. So that way, you know, to ask for double, you know, if you need more protein in your meal. Anything else, Coach Ann or Coach Corinne?
I guess my only tip on the meat is a lot of times I'll search ground turkey cooked or chicken cooked, because a lot of times these entries will pull up the value for it raw. And I don't know about you, but I don't think to weigh my meat raw. I cook it and then I weigh it. So
that's what I was going to say too.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can put that in cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys can see it'll come up right there. And obviously, well, we're not using 1 patty, so I would drill it down and do probably 1 ounce so I could find it.
That was a perfect example though, because where it said serving, it said 4 ounces, and then in parentheses, it said 4 ounces raw.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So be really mindful when you're looking up your things. And what the good thing is, once you find your one food, you know, like your one item, you'll always use the same one.
Right.
Because it'll help you be consistent.
We have a question. How do you change for it to say meal 1, etc. instead of breakfast, lunch? Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, okay. So this is in your settings. I know for all of my clients, I go in and do that, but you can also do it yourself. So we would go to the More tab at the very, hold on, let me go back here. Okay, so at the very bottom, it's like frozen. I don't know if you guys can see.
I can see.
Can you see? It says meal 1, doesn't it?
No, you're still on your home page.
Okay, there we go. All right. So click on the three little, I keep saying click, press with your finger on those three little dots on the bottom of the screen. I think it's in settings. I do it because I do it on the desktop.
I do too. Scroll up a tiny bit where you just were. I think it's diary settings. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Customize meal names. So see right here. Right there. And then you can change the names. So like for meal 1, if I wanted to change it, I could, you know, change it to whatever you'd like. Awesome. Anybody else have any questions while I'm in MyFitnessPal?
I have a question. I cook all my food and we're kind of struggling on how to measure when we do like a red chili or we do something that has meat, beans, seasonings, tomato sauce.
Ah, perfect.
I'm not quite sure how to do that.
Okay.
Or to be accurate.
Okay, so I'm going to do, it's going to be like a super abbreviated version, right? But let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're on our main screen and you're going to, again, press on those three little dots that say more. You'll go down and you're going to go to My Meals, Recipes, and Foods. And you're on this page. So you can see that I've already created quite a few recipes. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to create a recipe. It's going to feel very time consuming in the beginning, but it is so worth it, especially, you know, like if you have some favorites that you do cook. So you go to add recipe, you can either add it from the web, which if you press that option, you're just going to put the link in there. You can go to all these different options if you know where the recipe is. I don't ever do that. Or you can put the website up here at the top. Up there at the top. I always enter mine in manually, so I'll show you how to do that. So you go to create recipe, enter ingredients manually, and you're right here. So you would put in the title and like, let's say I'm going to make pancakes. Maybe I'm going to title them something, I don't know, fun, bam pancakes. And then you're going to put the servings. So this, when you put the servings in, for me, when I create a recipe, it's kind of hit or miss. I'll kind of guesstimate, but I'll tell you what I do. So I'll put like, okay, I'm going to make four of those. And then I go press that, and then you go to add ingredient. This is the same thing as if you're adding in a food into your diary. You can scan a barcode, you know, so if you have like beans or whatever, you'll do it that way. Or you can search for a food. So if you put beans, you search for it, you find your beans. Again, you're going to do the same thing, like if you're putting in 1 cup, 2 cups, all that other good stuff. So you would select that and you would just keep adding, right? And then when you're done adding everything, you press on the little arrow at the top and it'll tell you, it'll actually give you the breakdown of what you just created, which is really cool. So now the question is, like, when I do a soup and I'm creating a recipe, what I typically do, after I have cooked my entire recipe, I will transfer, like I will weigh out the entire thing. Yep. And I divide out. So if it like comes out like, I don't know, 1,000 grams or something, 1,200 grams, I will say, okay, I want this to be 6 servings. And so that's how I figure out how many grams are in per bowl of soup.
And Natasha, the other way to do it, which is one of the things I do, is once you weigh the whole thing, go into servings, and let's say it comes out to be 1,000
yeah.
grams total. Yep. Put the servings as 1,000 grams. And then when you go to log it, you can do the same thing you do anytime you're doing grams, is you can put servings 1, and then you can scroll up to 300 grams or 400
awesome.
grams.
So we would put it in here, and
yep, you can do it. Yep, you can do 1,000 or 1,000 grams there. And then when you go into log it, you put units 1, and then you can scroll up to as however many grams you can afford in your macros.
Okay, so then see, we saved it and logged it because it'll automatically log it. And then you can go here, 1 serving. Well, it only says 1 serving.
Well, you don't have any values in there, but
okay.
You would put one serving and then you would scroll up to like 400 if you wanted to eat 400 grams of it.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So Christine, I would definitely just play around with it. And
No,
you'll
that makes
kind of
sense.
figure out, yeah, you'll figure out what works best for you. So like for me, like I love the way Anne does it, and I'm going to try doing it that way next time. But I typically, for my pancakes, I would go up here and I would say 80 grams. That way, when I save my recipe, I know how much a serving is. So to each his own, and you'll figure out what works best for you. But that was a good question. Thank you. Any other questions before I come out of that? Okay.
Good.
So let me unshare my screen. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me.
Okay.
All right.
So I think we are going to move on to just a general Q&A. So any questions anyone has regarding macros, how to log, where you're stuck, those sort of things, just use your little icon at the bottom for raising your hand and we'll go. Christine, you're up.
Okay, so what's happening to me, the second struggle I'm having is I'll get to the end of the day. I pre-make all my food and freeze it for up to 6 months. So I just kind of pull as I need. My proteins, especially, are frozen. But I get down by the end of the day and I'll have like 3 carbs. And so I use gummy bears, but I feel like that's almost, I mean, I'm trying to, is it that critical to get down to those 3 gummy bears?
No, please don't. I was going to say, don't do that. Just don't eat them. I want you within 3 plus or minus 3 if you're not on prep 5. So
like last night I got to 8 carbs left. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need 5 carbs. How do I get 5 carbs?
At that point, I would rather you just not eat those 8 carbs than
Okay.
eat gummy bears at night. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And we, that's really common, I think, with everybody. And we do want to reiterate with everybody, like, it's different for each coach, but within 3 or 5, we're not there. It's unrealistic to be zeroed out every single day unless you are eating the same thing every single day, which if you are, that's cool, right? But give yourself grace and don't be hard. Like, it's all good. Yeah. We're not looking for zeros. It's really fun when you hit all zeros. I think it's kind of like a slot machine, but it's not necessary to do that every single day.
And Natasha's right. It's that hard to do that when you do, you're like, yes, I just hit zeros. It's really not challenging. So don't obsess over hitting zeros. Let me open Q for Nikki. You're in.
Hey, so I was just going to say that cucumbers are one thing that I found really helpful for small amounts of carbs, especially if like you're hungry. Like 1 large cucumber or something would be probably, is like or even a half or a quarter or an eighth or something. Like if I'm trying to fill in just a few carbs, that's what I do, instead of the gummy bears. Not that that's better or whatever, but maybe it's better. I don't know. But yeah, some kind of vegetable that has just not a lot of, it's mostly water. So
yeah,
I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, blueberries are my go-to if I'm like a handful of blueberries is super easy for me because I love fruit, so it's an easy one for me to grab blueberries at night. Any other questions or just comments where people are struggling, tips for other people?
Me, I don't have a name because I am using the account of my son.
Oh, so is this Felipe's mom?
Yes, it's Felipe. My name is Marcela.
Hi, what's your name?
Marcela. Marcela.
Marcela. Oh, perfect,
Hi,
Marcela.
everybody. I want to ask you about know exactly the macros, just the food that we select. I try to do like a Mediterranean diet with the macros, so I just to find like a balance in vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and very good healthy nuts. My question is regarding the starches. Do you think that it's important to add like the rice, like the oats, like the beans in the macros, or it's possible to have the results with vegetables and just the fruits?
Oh, so you're asking, is it okay to get all of your carbs from fruits and vegetables as opposed to
Yes.
using any grains?
Yes, no grains or just a little bit of rice. Or I used to compete and I want to, and I clean my diet for like the less carbs the better, and right now I am trying to introduce a little bit, but I need time. So my question is regarding, yes, the selection of the type of the food that we select to have the better results in the body.
That's a good question. Who wants to fire away on that one?
I think, well, number one, I would definitely have that conversation with your coach. Who is your coach?
Jamie.
Yeah, so definitely have that conversation with Jamie. I know for me personally, I did Whole30, so I couldn't do any grains. And I was also vegan for a few years. The biggest thing is you can totally do it with fruits and veggies. It's just the amount of volume you need to hit your requirements is a lot. So, it can be done. It's a lot. Like for me, I ate so many potatoes. It was ridiculous that I think my body eventually was like, no more potatoes. Right. But I hear you, because for me, I've had to slowly introduce different complex carbs into my diet. So for me, oatmeal is a huge one. That's where I started. I eat oatmeal every day. And for me personally, it matters what kind of oatmeal it is. It does need to be a gluten-free oatmeal, and I prefer steel cut. My belly prefers steel cut oats. So if you want to introduce those things, I think you're definitely on the right track in slowly doing it one thing at a time. That way you can see how it affects you. But I would definitely have that conversation with Jamie. She is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to different ways of eating.
Yes,
and various
when you add the carbs, remember that when you have fruit or vegetables have a lot of fiber, so the net carbs will be changed in all the results. That is more my question about the macros and the food that we select.
Yeah, I would have that conversation with Jamie. I mean, she is very knowledgeable about just have that conversation with her.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Okay, let's see. Meg, you are
Hi. Yeah. Do we need to use the premium version of MyFitnessPal? Is that preferred?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and that's simply because it allows us more features. So it's the only way to be able to set your macros in grams. And more importantly, it seems to be the only way to turn off that setting, that screwy setting that like gives you extra calories when you exercise, which is not how this game works. So it allows us to turn off that. It just allows us to my things a little bit better. So yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did we have someone else with a hand up?
I have one question or one comment about that premium. I don't know if anybody has had this experience, but if in the app, if you try to upgrade from just the basic to premium, I think it charges you like $15 a month. But if you go back and just kind of do some Google search before the price went up to, it was like $9.99 a month. And if you can find it if you Google and you don't upgrade through the app. Because I was like, wait a second, I thought this was $10 a month instead of 15. And so I would just recommend, if you're going to upgrade if you upgrade to the premium, just do it outside of the app, because that can save you money.
Oh, that's a really good tip. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Marcella, did you have another question?
No, I use macros for a long time, so
Oh,
no.
she's still showing your hand up, but that's okay.
Ah, I'm sorry. It's the first time that I use.
Maybe you had a new question.
Oh my God, this is for me. This is new, so I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're fine. Any other questions, comments?
I think
Alexis.
Oh.
Hey, yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
All right. So I'm new to this group, obviously. Just curious because I'm always fascinated to see when people do screenshots online or even looking at the one just shown, if this group will share like the meals that they eat and like how you get to certain macros, because that's probably the biggest challenge for me is figuring out what to eat. And so when I see someone else's, I'm like, ooh, I don't think I ever thought to put that in oats or, to mix certain things. So I was just curious.
Absolutely. So Alexis, I think you also asked to be added to the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
So on WhatsApp, you guys can, and on Facebook, on our Facebook group too, like you can put out a message and ask people their MyFitnessPal names, and you can start following them as friends. And once you start following everybody, then you can look at everybody's diary. Yeah. So just put out
awesome.
just put out a message and say, hey, I'd like to follow you. Can you provide your MyFitnessPal name? And you just need to make sure that you are in your settings that you're shareable.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And also the private Facebook or on Instagram, the Fit Body Foodies. The Fit Body Foodies page has some really good recipes and suggestions for food on there as well. So that's a good one. Okay.
Awesome. I think that's everybody. All right, Allie.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
sorry, I just want to make sure I'm really clear because I know I learned tonight that I was doing my wine all wrong this whole time. So I was scanning the barcode on my bottle of wine, and I was like, "Oh wow, it's not so bad." So I thought it was right, So you're saying don't scan it, even though it comes up with the actual name of the correct name, but you're saying don't scan it, but put in like white wine, what
carbs, white
wine
carbs.
carbs or red wine carbs. Do that instead of the actual barcode or instead of the name of the wine, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ellie, I'll send you over the cheat sheet. Also.
Okay, yeah, I need that.
That will help you. She just came over.
I've discovered a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just getting her set up again. So I'll send you over everything that you need.
Allie, kind of think of it this way: is when you scan that barcode, and let's say it tells you it's 12 carbs. Obviously, carbs have 4 calories per gram, so 12 times 4 is only accounting for like 50 calories of the entire glass. Those other calories are coming from something, but they're coming from alcohol, and alcohol is its own macro, so there's really nowhere to log it in MyFitnessPal. So you have to pull those extra calories from somewhere. So you're basically pulling all those alcohol calories out of your carbs. So that's why the barcode doesn't work, because it really is accurate. It's telling you how many carbs there are, but what it's not telling you is where to log those extra alcohol calories. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Has everyone received the alcohol counting macro sheet from their coaches? Should I add it to the WhatsApp group? Is that something that everyone sends their clients?
I send it, but I'm not sure everyone does, so it probably wouldn't hurt to pop it up on the.
Yeah, because I usually send it like in the initial. But is that what you're asking for? Is it Kimberly?
Yeah.
Dave, not Dave.
Yes, yeah. Please. Yeah, I have to go back and see if Jamie sent that to me, but it'd be great just to screenshot it right from the WhatsApp group or
Yeah,
download
we can send it to the WhatsApp group, because I know that you can search for the alcohol or the wine or whatever in my fitness pal, but if that's helpful to people as well,
Yeah.
just to kind of understand.
Just found the Fit Body Fusion Foodies group, and I'm in love.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm making pulled pork in my Instapot, and I can smell it through the wall in the kitchen. So
Dinner time.
I'm like, oh my God, food.
Yum.
Hey, I think Brandy has a question.
Yep, Brandy, you're up.
Hi, yeah. So I'm like super new, like a month in maybe. And I saw the message in my app for this master's call, and I was trying to understand, is it for like master's athletes or is it like a general all call? Like, how does this actually work? I know I dropped my number in the chat, but I just want to make sure I understand how all of this works.
Oh. Who wants to tackle it? Corinne, you want to tackle that?
Sure. So this is for masters athletes, masters lifestyle transformation. It's really for just our community of, 35 or close to it and over to kind of get together and talk about all the things that we go through and that, any questions that we have regarding, all things masters. So we'll have different topics each month, hormones, mindset, just different things that we'll kind of get on a call together and go over. And like, this today was obviously macro based, and next month will be something different. So, and it's just a nice community for people to kind of meet new friends that might live closer, that are closer to your age. And yeah, it's just for everybody, really.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
nerd, so I was like, ooh, information. I'm going to join it. Not quite masters yet. I have another year to go, but I
That's
just want to make
okay.
sure so I'm not invading y'all's space.
No,
Not at
it's
all.
fine.
No,
We
this
love
is,
having you.
there's no limit on space. We really just kind of wanted this community for, the not 20-year-olds.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah, just good support. Does anyone have any
Yeah.
comments, any newbies, or just tips for the group? I mean, I know macros is one of the things my clients, when they come on new, it's the part that creates the most anxiety. It's the thing that people struggle with the most. So if anyone has just tips, tricks, things they've figured out along the way, I think that would be awesome.
I think Alexis has had her hand raised.
Yeah, Alexis, you are up.
Oh, sorry, I did the same thing. Oh, sorry, let me unraise that.
Okay. All right. Tamika?
I just wanted to say I am a newbie, like really new, probably 3 weeks in with Fit Body Fusion. And this was great. Like when just like Brandy, I think it was Brandy just asked, who was this group for? So this is great to have. I really didn't understand what that meant, like masters or platinum group. I completely confused, but learned a lot about this MyFitnessPal app. So this has been great. I love it.
Awesome. Well, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So I think it was Candace made a comment about hoping to get to the point where you don't need your scale at dinner. Candace, I still use my scale. I use my scale at my house. I have, and the coaches will attest to this, whenever you see all of us traveling, we all have scales. Like,
okay,
it's part of our habit, especially if we're getting ready for shows. So and I told you guys, I eat the same thing every day and I still weigh it every single day. So it's just lifestyle, it's a habit that that you develop. So yeah, it's all good.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And again, before Anne will wrap us up, if nobody else has any other questions, if you want to be added to the WhatsApp group, just go ahead and drop your number in the messages and I'll get you added to that. And just to remind you guys, that group is for you guys and we love it. You guys there's so much dialogue. We are all very, very happy that you guys have taken it as your own. I did post a survey on there about meetups. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that right now. Las Vegas is in the lead. So Coach Corinne and Ann and I will be working to get something together for our first meetup. So, and it won't be the only one. We just needed somewhere to start. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. So thank you guys so much for interacting. And yeah, we're super excited.
Okay, well, if nobody else has any other questions or comments, we're going to wrap up tonight's call. I just wanted to thank everyone. Like Natasha said, if you want to be added to the WhatsApp, make sure we have your number. Also, you can follow through the Facebook page, the private Facebook page. And then next month, our call will be on March 6th. Our topic is hormones. Ladies, hormones. We have Joanna Dara from Hormone Logics coming on as a special guest to just give us kind of all a brief rundown on things to look for, things to keep in mind as we are all aging so gracefully. So that's our next one. And then, yeah, just thank you all so much for showing up, for participating. And yeah, let us know if you have any additional questions. We check the WhatsApp and the Facebook page, so we'll answer any questions through there. And we just really appreciate you guys all showing up and participating. It's awesome. Yay. Okay, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Mhm. And you could probably stop recording.
Yes, I can.
Bye. Again. Oh, let me hang me up. We don't need two Natashas.